Welcome to the Grumbleverse.
Today's grumble is about gluten. Grrrrrr. Now, I went to the freezer today, dismayed, after finding a very stale, sad-looking gluten-free crumpet. So I had a gander in the freezer, only to discover a bag of Panna chocolates. Now, elated, I checked the ingredients because just because it's gluten-free doesn't mean it's gluten-free. And then a little cloud appears above me. Gluten-free wheat starch. Wheat starch. Now, I know science has deglutenified it, but first, why would you put a gluten-containing product, even cleaned as it is, into a gluten-free product? When there are a multitude of starches available that have no association with gluten anyway. It mentally messes with you. It feels like a giant flex from the company. Look, we can take the gluten out. We clever. How about you just don't use it? Isn't the gluten the important part of wheat? So unless you're making gluten-free gluten, maybe just use pea starch or rice starch. Also, it's got to cost monies to remove the starch, right? My bet is that the wheat starch is the byproduct of some other starch-based industry. So how gluten-free is my gluten-free wheat starch, huh? This then brings us on to the second thing, that gluten-free doesn't mean gluten-free. You see, to be gluten-free in the UK, you need to contain only less than 20 parts per million. In other places like Australia, I think it's 5 parts per million. That means they can put yeast extract, which is literally barley malt or beer fungus, another byproduct, this one from the brewing process. They put it in products labelled as gluten-free. Legally, you can also make a gluten-free beer that's made from barley but falls under 20 parts per million. I feel like this helps the industry and people making money, but not the people that actually have immune problems and suffer from gluten issues. You know, when my villi, those little hairs in my stomach, when I eat wheat, they die. They lay down. It takes 7 years for them to come back to normal. That means that area of my stomach can't digest nutrients. My own immune system is attacking itself. It's not some fad diet thing. Wow, this bread is really soft. How'd you get it so like normal bread? Well, you see, it's got gluten in it. That's the trick. But legally, it's not there. So you're safe, legally speaking. How do two different countries have different opinions on tolerable amounts of poison? There's only one science. It's poisonous or it's not poisonous. What also makes it harder is since this became a fad thing and not primarily a medical thing, you now have to check your gluten-free food for gluten. Each of the main grains we eat in Europe, wheat, barley, rye, oats, there is corn and rice, we'll get to those. They all have 2 proteins in them that are essentially gluten. They sometimes have different names. For example, wheat has gluten, rye has secalins, and in oats it's avenins. Now, oats in the UK are considered gluten-free, when in fact, they are not free from gluten-like proteins at all. Most fad dieters or people with mild intolerances or personal diet choices are not impacted by this. Corn and rice, which are also grasses, like wheat, have similar proteins, though they don't trigger the same immune response on the level of wheat gluten. Most gluten-free products are made from corn, rice, and oats in the UK. The tastiest biscuits all have oats in it. Now, supermarkets. All the supermarkets around me recently moved their gluten-free sections to the bread and bakery section of the store. What homunculus thought this was a good idea? Some paper-pushing, brown-nosed, can't think, 2 chess moves ahead son of a gun. I asked them and they said, because people felt like they were being segregated and they like to get their gluten-free bread from the bakery section with everyone else. So let's break this down. You should really be educating people as well here. If you can smell something, you're tasting it. So you step into that fresh baked bread smell area and you're covering yourself in a layer of gluten. So is all your shopping, which is you're going to take into your gluten-free home. You know, cyanide smells nice, like marzipan too. Then you wade through the nice smelling death air to pick up your safe to eat pasta that is covered in flour from the whole wheat flour on the opposite shelf, because that's where they put the wheat now, right opposite the gluten-free wheat. Surely supermarkets like Tesco's and Sainsbury's have a duty of care to the people that enter their shop. The only place I can go to buy this stuff is your stores. I mean, legally, are you offering me a safe environment to buy my health products? So it's like I'm choosing to be gluten-free. I like pastries.